Sakhalin Island by Anton Chekhov. 1. From Siberia. Why is it so cold in this Siberia of yours? 'Cause that's the way God wants it, replies the coach driver. Yes, it's May now, and by this time in European Russia, the woods are turning green and the nightingales are pouring out their songs. While in the south, the acacia and lilac have been in blossom for ages already, yet here, along the road from Tyumen to Tomsk, the earth is brown, the forests are bare, there is dull ice on the lakes, and snow is still lying on the shores and in the gullies. But to make up for this, never in my life have I seen such a vast number of wild fowl. I catch a sight of wild ducks walking on the ground, swimming in the pools and roadside ditches, constantly fluttering almost right up to my carriage and flying lazily off into the birch woods. Amidst the silence, a familiar melodious sound rings out. You glance up and see high above your head a pair of cranes, and for some reason, you're overcome by melancholy. 2 wild geese have flown across. A row of beautiful swans, white as snow, sweep over. Woodcocks wail all around. Seagulls squall. We overtake 2 carts covered with hoods, and a crowd of countrymen and women. They are migrants. What province are you from? Kursk. Right at the back trudges a peasant who is unlike the others. He is clean-shaven, has a gray mustache, and is carrying some kind of mystifying valve behind him in a piece of coarse woolen cloth. Under his armpits are a couple of violins wrapped in shawls. There is no need to ask who he is or where he got his violins from. A ne'er-do-well, volatile, sickly sensitive to the cold, not attracted to a few drops of vodka, and timid, he has lived his entire life a superfluous and unnecessary person, first in his father's house, then with his brother. They have never got him set up on his own, never married him off, a worthless human being. At work he would freeze. He would get tipsy from 2 wineglasses full of hard drink, would come out with nothing but idle chatter, and knew only how to play the violin and romp about with the kids on the stove. He would play in dives of pubs, at weddings and out in the fields, and my God, how could he play? But then his brother sold up the cabin, the cattle and all the household goods, and is off now with his family to remote Siberia. And the bachelor is going too. He has nowhere else to go. He's taken the 2 violins with him as well, and when they arrive on the spot, he will begin to freeze from the Siberian cold, will wither away and die, gently, silently, so that nobody will notice. And his violins, which once made his native village feel gay and mournful, will go for 2pence to some clerk from their new era, or to an exile. The clerk's children will rip out the strings, snap the bridge, fill the inside with water. Please, go back, uncle. I saw the migrants again when I took the steamer along the Kama. I recall one peasant man of about 40 with a light brown beard. He was sitting on a bench on the ship. At his feet were sacks containing his domestic bits and pieces, while on the sacks lay children in bast sandals, huddling together against the sharp, chill wind which was blowing from the deserted bank of the Kama. His face expressed the thought, I'm resigned to it all now. There was mockery in his eyes, but this mockery was directed inwards, onto his soul, onto his past life, which had so cruelly cheated him. It won't get any worse, he would say, and smile with his upper lip alone. In response to this, you would remain silent and put no questions to him about anything, but a minute later he would repeat, It won't get any worse. It will get worse, a nasty ginger lout who was not a migrant would reply from another bench with a pointed glance. These people triapsing along the roadway around their carts are doing so in silence. Their faces are earnest, intense. I gaze at them and think, to cut loose from a life which seems to be going unusually badly, and to sacrifice this for one's own locality, one's beloved domestic nest, can only be done by an exceptional human being. A hero. Then, a little later, we overtake a party of convicts walking to Siberia. Shackles jingling, a group of 30 to 40 prisoners is going along the road, soldiers with rifles at their sides, and behind, 2 carts. One prisoner resembles an Armenian priest. Another, tall, with an aquiline nose and a large forehead, I seem to have seen in a chemist's shop somewhere serving behind the counter, and a third has a pallid, emaciated, and grave face, like a monk on a long fast. There is no time to take all of them in. The prisoners and the soldiers are exhausted, the road is bad, they have no strength to carry on. There are still 10 versts to go to the village where they will spend the night. And when they do arrive there, they will hastily get some food down them, have a drink of brick tea, and straightway doss down to sleep, and instantly bedbugs will swarm all over them, the most bitter and invincible foe of those who are utterly worn out and who desperately wish to sleep. In the evening the ground begins to freeze over, and the mud turns to hummocks. My hooded sledge bucks, crashes, and screeches diverse notes from bass to soprano. But it's cold. There is not a dwelling, not a single traveler coming in the other direction. Nothing stirs the dim air, nothing makes a sound. The only thing that can be heard is my sledge pumping over the frozen earth, and when you try to light up a cigarette along the roadway, 2 or 3 ducks flap up, aroused by the flame. We come to a river. We shall have to cross over by ferry. On the bank there is not a soul. "They've gone rowing up to the other side. A pox on their souls," says the sledge driver. "Come on, your honor, let's roar." To cry out with pain, to weep, to call for help, or to call out in general are all known as roaring here. And so in Siberia not only beasts roar, but sparrows and mice as well. "When a cat gets it, it roars," they will say about a mouse. We begin to roar. The river is broad, and in the darkness the other bank cannot be seen. From the dampness of the river your feet freeze, then your legs, and then your entire body. We carry on roaring for a half an hour, and still no ferry. We swiftly grow thoroughly fed up with the water and the stars strewing in the sky, and with this somber, grave-like silence. Out of boredom, I strike up a conversation with my elderly driver, and learn that he has been married 16 years, that he has had 18 children, of whom only 3 have died, and that his father and mother are still alive. That his father and mother are Kurzhawks, that is to say, religious dissenters. That they do not smoke, and have never seen a single town in their lives except for Isham. But that he, the old driver, as a young man, allowed himself to mess around a bit, and smoked. I discover from him that in this dark and grim river, sterlets, nelmas, burbots, and pike are to be found, but that there is nowhere to fish and nothing to fish with. But at last a rhythmical splashing becomes audible, and on the river something dark and clumsy appears. It's the ferry. It has the appearance of a small barge. There are 5 oarsmen, and the 2 oars of each of them, with their broad blades, look like crayfish pincers. On pulling into the bank, the first thing the oarsmen do is set about abusing each other. They swear with malevolence for no reason at all, and obviously in a half-asleep state. Listening to their choice vituperation, you might think that not only my driver, the horses, and they themselves, but even the water, the ferry, and the oars have mothers. The gentlest and most inoffensive piece of abuse with the oarsmen is, "A pox on you," or "Pox pustules in your gob," which particular pox is desired I fail to understand, although I do make inquiries. I am dressed in a sheepskin jacket and high boots, and have a cap on. In the darkness it is not clear that I am your honor, and one of the oarsmen hollers at me raucously, "Oi, you're poxukler! What are you doing standing about gawping with your mouth wide open? Get that side oars unarsed." We drive on to the ferry. The boatmen, swearing away, take to the oars. These are not local country people, but exiles, sent here under sentence by society for a depraved life. In the village they have been assigned to, they simply cannot exist. It's tedious. They don't know how to till the soil or have lost the knack of it. And anyway, land not in one's home region is not pleasant to work on, and so they have come here to work on the ferry. Their faces are haggard, exhausted, and battered. And what expression on their faces! It's obvious that these people, while sailing here on the prisoner barges, were manacled together in chains, and while they were making their way in a chain gang on foot over the main highways, spending the night in cabins where their bodies were intolerably nipped by bugs, they became numbed to the marrow of their bones, and now, hanging around day and night in the cold water, and seeing nothing except barren banks, they have lost forever what warmth they did once have. And only one thing now remains in life for them: vodka, sluts, more vodka. In this world, they are no longer human beings, but wild beasts. While in the view of the old man, my driver, in the next world it will be even worse for them. For their sins they will go to hell.